Hey guys, how's it going today? I'm excited to give you a new book talk, book review, book opinion video today. I will randomly make videos like this just because I enjoy talking about certain books, or specifically if I requested a arc or something of that nature, like I requested a book, I will review it individually in a video as much as I can. So this video is going to be about The Dark Game by Jonathan Janz. I requested this arc of The Dark Game from Flame Tree Press. This book is set to release in April of 2019, so it has already been released, I think a couple days ago since I filmed this video. As far as I know, it has been very well received by the community, and I've seen really good things said about it. I haven't seen anything below a 3-star for this book, so that's pretty good in my opinion. I think that means it's above average. I follow the author on Instagram, and he seems like a really nice guy. He's very nice and will repost your posts about him and his book. I like when authors are very, forward in the community and they actually will talk to the reviewers and the people who are talking about their stuff. Check him out if you haven't yet. This is a fiction horror genre book. Thank you so much, Flame Tree Press, for giving me this arc to read and review. I did review it on NetGalley, and I don't know if I've done Amazon yet, but I'll be sure to put it on Amazon if I haven't. Also, today I'm taking a photo to post this on Instagram. This video is not at all sponsored. I asked for this arc and they sent it to me very kindly. Sometimes that happens and no one's paid me to do this, but if you want to purchase this book, finished copy, you can go to the link in the description below. I'll have it there. I request that you support this artist. He does really great work, and I think you'll enjoy the book. This video will contain spoilers about The Dark Game, so if you're not interested in any kind of spoilers, I suggest you might not watch this video. So The Dark Game by Jonathan Janz starts off in a very dark setting. Okay, this book synopsis tells you that there is a group of, I think, 10 authors who are trying to build up their resumes and their fan base and their repertoire for being a author. And they go, because they are invited to this big mansion in the middle of nowhere, to have a contest or something to see who will win the chance to have a few books published through a very renowned publisher. And the ever famous Roderick Wells, who is the one running the contest, is throwing this so that he can help this person become famous and well known and help them grow, start from the bottom again. Some of these people who've come are, they have done well in the past and then something happened and they stopped doing so well, so they kind of just got washed out. Some of them are fairly new authors and they just wanted the chance to become something great. Some of these people who have done good and bad things throughout their career and it has affected them. So he is just offering these 10 authors the chance to become great again. I love the setup for this, the atmosphere and the way that the setting is portrayed throughout the book. First of all, you have this gorgeous cover that I really like. I think overall it looks about the same from the finished copy that I saw. It looks gorgeous. I love the realistic photograph here, but also I can tell that it's been photoshopped a little bit, but not so much that it's weird. I like the font choice for his name, and I just think it looks very professional and nice. You can see the gloomy, foggy house here, and then this figure here. I think that it looks gorgeous. I love a good cover. As a graphic designer, I think that that's very important. The cover is very important to me. They give you this nice setting of a creepy old house that is falling apart, and this area that they are taken to where they don't know where they are. They're blindfolded. They have no idea what's going on until, they get there, really, as far as setting goes. They were sent a letter, they know where they're going, but they don't know where they're going, if that makes sense. I will say just about the aesthetic of the book, the font size of this arc, I don't know if they were trying to save money when printing it or if that is the final version of the print size. It's definitely not a 12. I don't know if it's an 11 or a 10, but I think that some people might have had issues reading the arc because of the size of the font. I was okay, but I did have trouble at the beginning, just because it's so different and it just smaller font size. I know that's such a minor thing, but I don't know if that's changed in the final copy or not. If I were to pick something, I guess a little negative about the book other than the font size, there's not a whole lot of negative things I have to say, to be honest. The only thing I can think of other than the font size would be there were a lot of authors. Okay, 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're reading about each individual person and you don't see them like a TV show, because I think, if you have more than 5, you might need a visual aspect to fully know who is talking or who is being talked about or what journal entry you're reading by this person or something, because if you're just reading about it, to me, and I read a few other reviews of this, people were having trouble understanding who was talking or who was who, because 10 is a lot of people to keep up with. There were men and women throughout this book, so it was like, okay, which person am I visualizing while saying this? Because it gives you a little description at the beginning of each person, but then it also, you know, stops after a while, like a normal book would. So it was a little hard to keep up with who he was talking about through some parts of the book, but honestly, even if I did not remember what they looked like, it didn't matter to me. It just kind of like, I could just imagine a generic white dude and it would just happen, you know, like it didn't really bother the story that much. There were a couple of characters I could remember their physical looks and appearance, but most of them I couldn't, especially the ones who died early on. As you can tell, this does get very dark and it's a horror, so the authors start dying off. I won't tell you how many or who, but they do start dying off in very interesting ways. Think of it as like a horror house meets Saw, I guess. Not Saw. Saw's a little gruesome and weird, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like they just die in different strange ways. And they're kind of open-ended too, the ways that they die. I love the villain of this book. Roderick Wells is the obvious villain throughout the entire thing. He is the millionaire, amazing author who has been well known throughout the world because of his books that he's written about horror and other things. He's very interesting as a villain. He's very rich and he has no reason, supposedly, to why he's doing this at the beginning. Like, you're like, why would a rich person become a murderer? Like, it doesn't make sense. But you slowly start to see his true nature and what he actually is and what he becomes and the things that he has done in the past that have led to this point throughout the book. I wish that some of the characters, like the maid, the wife, and Wilson, had been thoroughly explored. Maybe the book would have been twice as long, but I enjoyed his character building so much for certain characters that I think it would have been very nice and interesting to see him explore those characters as well a little bit more than he did the authors, because there were just so many of them and they didn't seem as interesting to me. I know they had their like dark backgrounds and that was very fun to read, like the twisted nature of what happened to them and what they've done, but also I really liked the original cast of like the maid and the butler. I guess he was a butler, I don't remember. Wilson, the maid, and the wife. Those would have been really fun to read about. So each of these authors also has a dark secret that they are carrying with them. I think that that was part of his drawing them in to the house, was selecting these people who have done things in the past that maybe they're not proud of, or maybe they've done something very, very, very bad or illegal and no one knows about it. Most of the people in this story have done something just wretched, just terrible, and they are coming to terms with like, I should tell somebody or something's going to happen, and it's very, very cool to see what they did and how messed up it was. There was, I think, 2 or 3 characters particularly that I really, really enjoyed their bad side. There's a character named Will who did something very disgusting and very bad when he was very young, but it was wrong and very bad, like very twisted. I don't want to like give away too much, but he did something involving his sisters, so that's very interesting, and I enjoyed reading about that even though it was messed up. I watched a lot of like criminal shows and like Criminal Minds and like, you know, kind of garbage TV where they have stuff like that happening. So I felt very at home reading about something like that, even though it's twisted. I forgot her name, but I also really loved the preacher's wife character who was an author. She was very interesting. You could read some of her journal entries that she wrote during the stay at the mansion. It was very cool to read about how she was plotting murder against somebody, and she went through so much when she was living with her husband, and I really enjoyed that section. It was very good. I kind of wish that had lasted a lot longer, or there had been more journal entries about her in this. I just really enjoyed that. Like, I would read a whole book about that, and probably about the Will character too. I will say though, I do appreciate the amount of work that he put into each character and each story, and that it was as short as it was, because honestly, a good book makes you want more, and I want more of this. I hope I can pick up either more arcs from his stories, or I can buy the physical copies or something like that of more of his books, because he did mention a book in this book called The Siren and the Spectre, and he actually has a book called The Siren and the Spectre, so that makes me really interested in reading more of his books, like if they're tied into each other, maybe in the same universe. I think that's very interesting, and I would love to read more of his work. I definitely want more of this author, and I'm going to be actively searching him out. There was some action scenes throughout the end of this book because, you know, of horror movies, they always have like a climax where there's fighting and stuff going on. The action was very easy to read and easy to understand what was going on. I wasn't confused at all, so I thought that was very well communicated. Also, the humor of this book is top notch. I have a soft spot for horror and humor, and I think that when an author can do both hand in hand, it is fantastic, and I cannot stop thinking about one line in particular towards the very end of the book between the winner and another person. I just can't stop thinking about what he said to her, and it's just so funny, and it just cracks me up. I even read it out loud to my husband, and he thought it was pretty funny too. I feel like if I met the author in person, we would have like a really good time like joking around and goofing off because the humor is so similar to how I talk. Is that creepy to say? I don't know. I really liked the ending of this book. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there is a winner and some things happen and people get together, people hate each other, people die. I think that it leads to either a sequel to this book, which I don't know if there is, I'll have to look into that, or it just has a really good, you know, horror-esque ending where you're kind of like, leaves a few little questions, but not like so open-ended that you're like, you know, it was so well done, and I cannot get over how much I enjoyed this book. I was not expecting this. Not that I expected, you know, garbage or anything, but I did not expect it to be as good as it was. It had some sexy times in it. If you're not an adult, I don't think you should probably read this book just because ratings and such, but it's definitely adult content. There's a lot of murder and a lot of sexual undertones and like a few trigger warnings throughout the book. I think that if you're sensitive to certain topics, you shouldn't read this. It has insinuations to child crime, like crimes against children, abuse, lots of abuse, murder, blood, gore, monster-y type things, parental stuff. I can't fully think of everything, but I'll try to list them in the description if I can think of them. Of course, it's better to just watch other people review too and see what they say because I don't want to spoil too much. And also, I don't want anyone reading this who is not comfortable with things like that. Let's just say that if you're sensitive to, you know, death and like murder and stuff, you shouldn't read this. But if you're okay with stuff like that, I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars because I just loved it, okay? 5 would have been, there's nothing I would change, probably. Like, it could use some work as far as the typeface goes. That's such a picky thing. But I do like when the type's the same throughout my books. I don't want it extra big. I don't want it extra tiny. And it just feels a little small to me. That's such a tiny little nitpicky thing though. And also there were a couple of things like the amount of artists that I think should have been maybe narrowed down to like 7 or something. Might have been, I don't know, 5 to 7 might have been more digestible, even though I know each of them had a purpose. It's so hard for me to give it 4, maybe 4.5 for this one actually, but I give it a 4 on Goodreads, so that's usually what I talk about. But more of 4.5 probably. I highly recommend this book if you're into this genre, and especially if you already know the author and you've read his books. I don't think that you need to read anything before this. It might have an actual like list of books you should read in what order, like they may lead into each other. But I read this as a standalone, never reading anything of his, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. So I think that you would too. But yeah, let me know what you think of this book if you read it in the comments below. I would really like to know what you think of this, if you've read it or if you've picked up the copy already and you're starting to read it. I'm very interested to have this conversation with you guys, and I want to know what you think about it. New to this author. I'm new to a lot of authors actually. And I can't wait to read more of his books. I hope that I can pick them up. I just want to thank, you know, Flame Tree Press for letting me review this copy. That was very nice of them. Yeah, I think this author has a lot of great things going for him, and I can't wait to see where he goes from here. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know that you want to see more like it. I have tons of videos planned, and I can't wait to film them and put them up for you guys. I'm having so much fun being here, and everyone was so nice in my BookTube newbie video. Like, that was so sweet. Like, everyone was liking it and subscribing, and it was just so sweet. I can't thank you enough for that. You guys make me feel like I'm at home already. Like, it's so nice. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.